Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Evgeny Shvarov. I'm community manager of InterSystems developer community. And today we are starting our... So today we are having the kickoff to start the contest, InterSystems Developer Community Programming Contest, where we suggest to all developers in InterSystems product that is called InterSystems Iris Cloud SQL, which is, as it states from its name, it's a cloud native product. And yes, today we will have some hopefully useful information how you can use it, what are the benefits, like how better to use it, what are the features, key features, and maybe some limitations. And I pass the floor to Benjamin Debo, product manager of InterSystems.
Actually, I think I'm going to start. So, hi, I'm Steve LeBlanc. I'm a product specialist at InterSystems. So let me kick things off a little bit. So I'm just going to start talking about InterSystems Iris Cloud SQL, what the service is, just kind of high level. Then I'm going to pass things over to Tom Dyar, who may or may not be here.
Oh, I'm here.
Hi, Tom. So Tom will talk about InterSystems Iris Cloud IntegratedML, which is an add-on feature of Cloud SQL. Then we'll pass it on to Benjamin to talk a bit about the positioning of this service among InterSystems solutions, and a bit more of the roadmap, just fill in some of the context around why we're doing this. And then Evgeny will talk more about the contest in particular. So with that, I will get going. Can everybody see my slides? All right, and there will be some demos in here, so we can see how to get started and what things look like. All right, so InterSystems Iris Cloud SQL, what is it? It's a fully managed cloud service that InterSystems is running and operating, and to a customer, to an end user, what's that? Oh, okay. Sorry. So it's a SaaS service that InterSystems is operating, managing in the cloud, and to the end user, it's an SQL endpoint. It's a SQL database endpoint that you can spin up in the cloud, deploy in a minute, and it's billed based on compute and storage, how much you're using. It's currently based on t-shirt sizing, but really, it's a SQL database, right? It's in the cloud, we manage it, and it's built on Iris. So it's the performance, reliability of Iris, plus the additional services that Benjamin will talk about later in the roadmap, for the composable services that we're ultimately going to be providing, some of which are already released. Right, so what's in the box? When you spin up a deployment, you get an Iris SQL endpoint, as I said. We provide the connectors to talk to Iris, to use your language of choice. Basically, we support JDBC and ODBC, ADO.NET, and DB API drivers, and easy to just pull those client drivers, get your connection string, and connect and go. We provide a web portal for creating these deployments, for browsing schemas, importing data, and some basic administrative tasks. But then obviously you can do all that through the third-party drivers, or do all the interfacing with your SQL endpoint through those third-party drivers. Where do you sign up? Now, we created a dedicated environment for this contest. So in this case, there's a dedicated portal that you'd go to. You'd create an account with your email address, and then you're signed up and have that ability to create deployments. once released, this will be a subscription initially through the AWS marketplace. And as I mentioned, you'd be billed based on the amount of the size of the instance or the compute, as well as the amount of storage used. And we'll have like hourly billing metrics based on that. But for this contest, this is a free environment where with some limitations of how large and things like that. But as you'll see, you'll be able to spin up a deployment and get going for this contest. So how to use the web portal, I will actually go in and click through, so I don't spend too much time. But just to say, we provide a SQL editor for browsing your schema, running some queries. There are tools to import files, to load DDL, to load in CSV data, as well as the basic administrative tasks. You can stop and start a deployment, click to upgrade if there's a new version of underlying Iris available. We'll stage that version and you can upgrade it, as well as we take a nightly backup that you can then go and restore if needed. For security, everything is obviously encrypted at rest. Data in transit is encrypted using TLS, which is enforced by default for using external connections, which you could toggle on or off if you're just doing a demo per se. And you can also give an allowed IP address that's able to connect to this instance. Okay, I talked about most of this, but there's a nightly backup. Those backups are encrypted and stored in S3, and you can restore backup through the portal. We do the backend monitoring, system level metrics, the Iris metrics, and we're able to respond to any issues that are alerted, and then any errors or issues are also displayed in the portal. It's highly available. It's based on our Kubernetes architecture, so we automatic data replication in different availability zones, which in the event of a failure can restore over in a different availability zone. And I mentioned the upgrades as well. So I'm gonna just switch over to a quick demo. So this is the contest environment. So let me just log in here. So I have a deployment running already in this environment, but I'll click through to create a new one. So, in this environment, our live portal will include all the services that we offer. Right now, this is just limited to Iris Cloud SQL with IntegratedML. You can see it's just a checkbox add-on. The t-shirt sizes are limited to a small for this environment, but there will be a number of options, and you would be billed thusly. We'd click to enable third-party connections, so we can allow connecting via JDBC or what have you. Let me go password. So I'll just kick off a new deployment just so you can. We deploy in AWS, and right now we're limited for this contest at least to US East 1. All right, so I'll kick that off. That takes about a minute, just over a minute maybe, to spin up. But as that's going, I'm just gonna click into my initial deployment. So the main deployment overview screen, you can see all the details about your particular deployment, the size you chose, which Iris version is running underneath, what features you've enabled, some external connection information. You can get a self-signed certificate for the TLS connection, and all your connection string information, as well as a link to get to the available driver packages that we have. So here you can download the JDBC driver, the DB API driver, to be able to connect out to this instance, or this deployment rather. And you can see throughout the portal, we've implemented these little info boxes that provide some documentation about what every feature is. But there's also a full set of documentation you can go out to. So just clicking up, here on the left menu, we're looking at the overview, but you have the ability to load in files, whether we're loading in DDL scripts to create your schemas or CSV files. And we've got some UIs to walk through that. Let me give my deployment login. All right, so you can load a file just locally, but we also you can load them in from an S3 bucket, and we also include some samples. So there's an S3 bucket that includes a list of some sample data, sample schemas and data, some that work with an embedded exercise that I think Tom will show in a little bit. But just for illustrating, I'm going to load in some of this. This is a machine learning example for using New York City taxi cab data. So if I loaded that in, now over in import files, I can import the DDL that I just loaded. You've got the number of DDL we support. Import. All right, so I've imported a SQL schema. I'm going to click over to the query tools, and here, it's like an editor. You can browse the schema that we just imported, right? This is the yellow trip data table that I've just imported. If I go back to import files, I'm going to actually load some CSV data into this. I'm clicking through quickly, but it should be pretty self-explanatory and well documented what you're doing. But so I've just loaded about 15,000 rows here. If I go back over the query tools, I can I meant to preload this, so I didn't have to type it. Sorry. All right, so there it is, loaded in. Obviously, you can browse it from here, but in most scenarios, you'd probably be connecting from some external source over the connection drivers. So, that's the quick overview. Tom will talk a little bit more about the integrated ML features that are built in the portal as well. And I think with that, I'll just kick it over to him. Tom, I can control the slides. I guess any questions before we move on from there?
Nope. Sounds good. If you can.
Yeah, let me just pull up the. Okay. Tell me when to skip.
Okay, so go to the next one. All right, so just to kind of orient people a little bit that may not be super familiar with integrated ML. So integrated ML is like an add-on to the Iris Cloud SQL service. And really, it's naturally an add-on because it really is integrated ML as a machine learning facility that's really all SQL. So we've just added some verbs and DDL to SQL, to our SQL processor, to give you a very simple way to train models and then use those models in an application. So as I said, it's all SQL. It's completely integrated within the Iris SQL parser. So you can use the verbs very flexibly. We have, in particular, after you're done training a model, you have like a predict SQL function that works, anywhere in a SQL select clause that's backed by the table that you did your machine learning on. So you can put it into the where clause and do all sorts of very interesting queries using the SQL and using the integrated ML additional SQL commands. So the other point about it is that we made it very simple. It uses AutoML kind of general techniques to automatically prepare your data, do simple feature engineering, and do the training. You don't have to install anything extra. You don't have to learn Python if you don't want to. If you just love SQL, you can just stick with SQL and do your machine learning in a very streamlined fashion. And then also, to guide you through and to get you kind of familiar with integrated ML within the cloud portal, there's some extra tooling that I'll walk you through and show you how you actually use this. So let me get to my screen. Let me see here. Always going around between Teams and Zoom. Okay. All right. Okay. Is this mine? I think this is mine. Yep. Okay. So I've already imported the models. As Steve pointed out, you can find files to load if you go into this external storage, and you'll see that we have this bucket where we've got some files. I've selected these last three for this yellow trip data and actually made the tables. So if you look over here in the SQL query tools, you can see that I've got these two tables populated. And they're really the same. There's just a subset of data that's used to validate, and I don't know if we'll really get to that. I don't really want to go through a full integrated ML tutorial here, just kind of point out some basic things that you can look at. So when you click on this integrated ML tools, you'll see these like very kind of big block stages that you'll run through typically when you create a model, train a model, validate that model where you test its performance on some data that it hasn't seen, and then predict is where you actually use it. So I'll click through some of those as we go along. But first off, the first kind of step that you'll want to do is create a model. And the UI just kind of gives you everything you need, really. You can first, you have to choose a name. So we'll just choose yellow model. But then you have this drop down that shows you all the tables that you have. And so you could just select this, just point and click. And then it has all the fields. You have to decide which field you want to try to predict. In this case, we're going to try to predict the tip amount. So there we can find tip amount. It's a numeric. And then it shows you the SQL. And you can actually just kind of edit the SQL if you need to change it a bit right in here. So it's a very simple kind of statement. It's like a create table statement. And it shows, that you're going to train a model on this tip amount, and you're going to use the data that's in the yellow trip data train. So once you have that, you can just hit this create model, and it's created. I think if you can show created models, and you get a nice little, Oh yeah, what I forgot to do, actually, that's a funny thing. It's going back to SQL tools. This very important box right here will actually walk you through all these things. Gives you a very nice rundown of the steps that are needed to go through this model. So on the right, you'll have some information about what this example is, and then each one of these steps is laid out and tells you exactly how to do it. So even if I'm not around, you have all of this information that will make it very simple to recreate these steps. So back in the integrated ML tools, after you've created the model, then you can train it. So then you can click down. Let's just get rid of. So then you have the models that you've created in this drop down, and then you can optionally name that model a trained model, but you don't need to do that. And then just hit train. And it's going to kind of keep track of your training process. You can see this going on. It's going to refresh, and you can actually look at the log file as it goes along. You can see what's happening underneath a bit. Eventually, that will be trained, and then you'll see it in your trained models. I think at this point, there are no trained models because it's still training, but it's going to look. And then after you've trained it, you can validate it. That's a very simple procedure. Again, once you have a trained model, you click that and you're able to show the validation runs and look at the metrics. So really you have all of the tools and some UI to help you through it right in the portal. It's very slick. Okay, so I think that's really all I wanted to show. I think you get an idea that we've done a fair amount of work to walk you through it and give some support there for people that are not particularly integrated ML experts, and you will be very soon after going through this exercise. So let's see if we go back to the slides. Is there anything else I wanted to mention? I don't think so. So yeah, I'll pass it off now to Benjamin, I think, unless anyone has some questions.
Great, thanks, Tom. I love that we've been able to kind of clone you into a sidebar. So that's really cool. So I'll talk a little bit about what this is actually for, if things want to move forward. Yes. So who are we targeting with this? So this is a new offering. This is actually a new product, and I shouldn't say product. This is a new service. So this is a new service that we're offering to full stack developers. Anyone out there like you? Most of you are very able and very flexible full stack developers that are looking for a relational database service. There's quite a few out there already, but this one's based on Iris. We'll get to that in a minute. So we're looking for full stack developers that want a relational database to store their data and don't want to be bothered with managing that data, with managing the systems, the databases, and any other DBA kind of work. Also, those that are looking for a future-proof solution and that want to be able to extend that going forward. More about that shortly. So those may be full stack developers that know InterSystems and are using InterSystems today, or may not yet be using that. So who is this also for? This is also for existing Iris SQL customers that want to focus 100% on their core business. So we have many customers that have chosen for InterSystems over the years. Some of those are using Dyar Global Access. Some of those are using our document database. Some of those are focused on interoperability use cases. But there's also quite a few of those that are that have sort of taken it on themselves to develop or to stay within the boundaries of pure SQL. So for those customers, they can, in many cases, just lift and shift their application and move it into Iris Cloud SQL. I'm saying lift and shift because that sounds great. There are probably some things that we'll need to figure out, and that is exactly one of the goals of this contest, as we'll be talking about shortly. So for these as well, this is not just getting rid of the operations, but it is also to kind of future-proof your application, to future-proof your stack, so that you'll be able to kind of extend your current application with potential other use cases for that data, such as analytics or additional application modules that we may be able to facilitate through the unique nature of the Iris Cloud offerings. So you could say this is just the start, but it actually is not just the start. So the heptagons, whatever, the not squares that are in dark blue are services that we already offer to the public here. And actually, some of you on this call are already customers of those and have already used those. So the ones at the bottom here are really more solutions in the healthcare arena. And then there's a couple of platform as a service offerings that are more in the FHIR area that are already open to the public now, for which we have customers of whom you're seeing some of the logos here on the right-hand side. Our managed cloud services are also available. We also have a number of customers there. As a matter of fact, most of the customers that that have chosen for InterSystems in the past year or two are deploying to the Iris Managed Cloud. And now the new ones here are the pure database as a service offerings, the pure SQL as a service offerings, where all you get, and actually all you have to worry about, is a SQL endpoint. So you get your JDBC URL, so to say, and you have nothing else to worry about other than preferably pay the bills at the end of the month. So this is not a story that's starting. This is a story for which we already have experience and which we're sort of expanding with foundational services. So these Iris-based cloud services are foundational building blocks on which you and us can build industry-specific services and solutions. So you'll see this may sound a little odd, or this may look a little odd, that in the sense that we've already released some of these platform as a service or solutions first, and then only then the foundational building blocks that are actually the level underneath those. So these are what you can use to build customer solutions, that you can use to build composable applications or implement a data fabric architecture. So what's unique about these is that they are built on InterSystems Iris, which all of you know as a high-performance multi-model data platform. And that means that we can offer what we call a data plane that is kind of a singular layer with which holds your data, and that is accessible from different services without having to copy and translate the data between those different services, because that multi-model capability is really ingrained in our architecture. Let me make that a little more tangible by walking you through a little example. So here's a depiction of how this may look. So you've got your data plane, which holds your data, which is universal for all of the services, all of the deployments, as it was put in Steve's slides, that you have in the Iris cloud. And then underneath that is a control plane to take care of all of the provisioning. So we call this a data fabric, and an example of that is this composition of services. So the one on the left here is let's look at that scenario for a FHIR context. So that is the FHIR message transformation service. So this is one of our first services in the FHIR arena. Many of you know FHIR. It's the most important standard in healthcare nowadays, and we contribute to the standard itself. We have team members that are on the board of the FHIR standard committee, and now we've got a number of services that also play directly in this arena. So FHIR itself is not brand new, but there's already an enormous amount of data out there that is still in older formats, such as HL7. So what we're offering with the FHIR message transformation service is a SaaS solution to transparently migrate all of those messages into the FHIR format. So that is a very specific use case, a very industry-specific use case that you can just point to an S3 bucket full of all data, and it will translate it into a FHIR equivalent and can then store it in a FHIR server. So that is one of the services in the InterSystems FHIR cloud. So all this compliant FHIR data then needs to be stored somewhere. So that's you could push it into another S3 bucket, but that would be kind of static. That wouldn't be very useful. So that's what we have the InterSystems InterSystems FHIR cloud server offering for, which is a fully standards-based FHIR repository. So FHIR also has a standard for that. That also includes a particular standardized search API, so that any FHIR-based application can talk the same language to endpoints. A little bit like SQL, but really meant for point retrievals of data. So if you were talking about kind of different vendors or even a single vendor with totally disjoint offerings, you would have one service that does the translation and another service that offers that search API. And then you need to kind of move the data in between those. Not when you look at the way how InterSystems looks at this, because we host both services with a single data plane, so there is no copying of the data. They remain in the safe place. So I already mentioned the Fire Search API as a standardized thing for point retrieval. With that, as some of you that are familiar with it know, I'm also saying that it's not really meant for analytics. It's not the same as SQL. SQL is a very useful language to get or to perform aggregations and transformations of data in a query and scan over large volumes of data. So if you want to use the data that's stored on Fire for analytical use cases, you're kind of out of luck if you just have the Fire Search API to look at. For this, InterSystems has developed the Fire SQL Builder, which is another capability that's going to be released for production use with the upcoming 23.1 release, and that allows you to, through a user interface, define a set of SQL views on top of your Fire data. So again, we're talking about a different audience, a different specific use case. In this case, all three of these are somewhat industry specific and specific to Fire. But in the background, we haven't made a single copy of the data. The data is still in the output format where it was left by the Fire Message Transformation Service. And you've got your Fire Search API, fully standards compliant, fully Fire repository standards compliant, that looks into that data. And then we've got those projections that are built by the Fire SQL Builder that also give your analysts SQL access to this. So this is an illustration of what a data fabric can be. For different audiences, you offer a convenient, appealing way to access the data without them having to worry about the provisioning of infrastructure, the copying of data, or actually the physical storage format of that data. Those are all things that InterSystems can take care of. So, and that is kind of leading up to what we call smart data services, which are the kinds of applications that sit on top. So composable applications, composable pipelines, composable analytics. So that really are very business focused, that are very user focused, so that the people who develop these services, these composable applications, really don't have much to worry about on the control or the data planes. So that's kind of to give you a little more context, the broader vision that InterSystems has with these smart data services. And it's in this data plane that you should think about Iris Cloud SQL and Iris Cloud IntegratedML. Okay, on to the contest. So we already mentioned that we set up a dedicated environment for the contest, which is 100% free for you. In return for that, we've sort of limited it to just the small deployment size, which is still not bad. You can do quite a bit with it. Only in US East 1, also not really a hard restriction, I hope. And also, obviously, we'll be shutting down the deployments after the contest. If you don't mind, it would be great if you would shut down deployments if you're not using them, unless, of course, they're used by your online demo application. And we've got a Discord channel for the contest. So if you run into anything, please let us know. We'll be happy to assist you. Because as you can imagine, this contest is also for us to learn from you. You are a bunch of very creative developers and engineers, and we want to learn from the particular use cases that you care about and how well our services help you implement those. So first and foremost, how does this work in your current context? So if you would try and do business as usual, but then deploy it to Iris Cloud SQL, so does that work? Are there limitations that you can't work around, or what are the workarounds that you need to use? So how well do your existing applications fit in the Iris Cloud SQL model? How easily can you use your favorite tools, the dbeavers, the Iris SQL CLI, etc., to access your Iris Cloud SQL endpoint? Evgeny will give a little demo of that right away. And then we're super excited to hear all your ideas in the creativity and innovation buckets. So how do you plan to package and deploy your application and the data that comes with your application into Iris Cloud SQL? Where are you thinking of hosting your applications for Iris Cloud SQL? How do you think of change management? So promoting changes through a development test production environment. And what are the third-party tools and services that you've discovered along this process? So this is really kind of a blank sheet of paper. We're really curious to hear how you're looking at it. We thought that by prescribing what we have in mind for these, that we would kind of throw everyone in a little funnel, and then we would just hear back what we gave as suggestions. So that's why this is really a very open contest. But again, we're really looking forward to hear from you. And then the technology bonuses. You may already have seen the article that was published this morning about the bonuses. So the special bonuses for this contest are using IntegratedML with or without the help of the Tom sidebar, and provide your feedback in the survey. So many of the questions that you saw on the previous slide and some others will sort of wrap that in a survey that can get you a simple bonus. So there's absolutely no reason not to fill in the survey. And then obviously there are also the classic bonuses that you know from, or that you may know if you've participated in earlier ones, that you may know from those contests. And if you don't, then you can also get the first time contribution bonus, obviously. And with that, I would like to pass it on to Evgeny for a demo of some of the things that were his first endeavors in Iris Cloud SQL.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Benjamin. But before we go to any demos, do you have any questions from the audience? You can raise your hand or use comments or just ask your questions out loud. And actually, I will just share some approaches how to use Iris Cloud SQL. Don't hesitate to interrupt me at any moment. And yeah, no questions so far, right? Okay. So I will share my screen. Can you see that? Okay, and I have some slides too. Okay, so what I will speak about, so how to work with Iris SQL, Iris Cloud SQL via like SQL clients. There are a number of them, several popular, like listed here, like Squirrel, DataGrip, Cache Monitor is pretty specific to InterSystems, Dev ecosystem. But I will talk in particular about the Beaver and Iris SQL CLI. The Beaver, it's a very popular free or enterprise SQL tool. So it is even listed on Open Exchange, and so you can install it on Mac or Windows. So I will show you how to. I have a community edition which allows to work. Okay, and so with the Beaver, you just search for InterSystems here and choose InterSystems Iris. Then it asks what will be host and schema. So I have my deployment here in the browser. Let me check. Yes. So here's my deployment. I copy clipboard, put host here, then port 1972, then database is user for everyone, then SQL admin is the user that we'll use, and password is specific for you, of course. Then I click finish, And I hope it is already connected. I did something wrong. I don't know, but maybe I missed the password, but hope you got the idea. So maybe I will take another deployment where just which I so I'll just create it again because it's pretty easy. So I put here host, then user, then SQL admin and password. Okay. So for this server, I didn't miss the password, and so have some. I even created some tables here. Okay, great. So this is the Beaver. I recommend you very much. It can use scripts or just browse tables, data. So, and with this core code, you can open this page. Another SQL client I can recommend you is Iris SQL CLI, which is a community-driven client, which is contributed to InterSystems dev ecosystem by Dmitry Maslenkov, who is here. Thank you, Dmitry. You can go to Open Exchange to see how it can be installed. On Mac, you can easily install it with this brew install Iris SQL CLI, and then the usage is pretty simple. So you call Iris in the terminal Iris CLI, then put server, then port, user, and so here is what I can. Sorry, I have prepared. So I will demonstrate it to you now. Yeah, so I can, for example, take this, then go to terminal. So I have it already working here. So then Iris CLI, it asks for a password. So yes, yes, it works. And it's pretty nice code completion here and code highlighting. And if you want a secure connection, you need to. So it is possible too. So what do you need? You need to. Just a moment. So let's go to another deployment. So I will show you just from scratch how it works. So here you have a button to download certificate. So just download it here. It's in a downloads folder. So I exit here. Oh, sorry. Then I go to this folder. The name of it is like that. I will call it 7, just to type it easily. Then I need to go to this folder, and then so I have this this line to connect without security, and with clause -c, and the name of this file. Okay, it will use a secured connection now. So so what I do, put it here, my password. I missed it again, sorry. Oh, great, I'm here. Okay. And what we can do, we can just use any script in SQL. For example, I have an example. I think, yes, I have some DDL to create several tables and indexes. So I can just take it, for example, this stuff, copy, paste, boom. Yes. Sorry. So maybe something when okay, this is the problem. I prepared before demo. Don't blame me. Okay. Yes. So I created a few tables. Yes, and few indexes. Okay. This was a quick demo about two SQL clients. Any questions so far about the Dyar and Iris SQL CLI? A few words before I start. A few words about Iris SQL CLI. Actually, it is a clone like for InterSystems Iris from Python, similar like Python CLI for Postgres for other databases. So it's open source and built in Python. If there are no questions, I will go further. Any questions maybe in chat? Colleagues, no questions. Okay. I don't see chat, so if there are questions, please let me know. Slides, this is where I illustrate that you can use certificate to connect, and also there is a simplified form how you can connect with Iris CLI. Is you form the URL like Iris semicolon then username semicolon password at server port namespace. So just not to prompt it every time. So, for example, for the particular server, it looks like that. Of course, it's here it's password, not a real password, but this is maybe you will find useful that just not to enter password every time, right? Okay, and maybe a few words about bonuses. As Benjamin already told everything about them, almost everything, just a few comments. Of course, currently the survey bonus is not listed here, but will be one since we will have the link to the survey. Other than that, you will have demo bonus for like of 5 points if you use IntegratedML in your solution. So it is AutoML extension of InterSystems SQL. Then online demo. For this contest, we don't provide like on hosting for online demos. So it's up to you. So I mean, for example, I built a demo on Heroku with Iris SQL, Iris Cloud SQL, and it works quite fine. I will show you now. Article. So if you publish article on the developer community, you get two points. So one for the second article, and it's all about videos. So if you prepare video in YouTube, it's 3. If you participate for the first time in the InterSystems Dev Ecosystem contest, you get Gandhi Cup of 3 points. And also, if you implement in your solution one of the community ideas, which you can find on ideas.intersystems.com, it's probably deserve going there. So, community itself. Community lists also all the different Dev Ecosystem services. And one of them is Ideas portal, which you can easily find like ideas.intersystems.com. And there are a number of ideas of different states. So we can filter by status. And the one you need to look for is community opportunity with this filter filter it like that. This is what you can take and which is relevant, if it is relevant to your solution, or you can be inspired by these ideas implemented in your contribution in this contest. So you'll get 3 extra bonuses as well. And what about these bonuses and voting again? So we, as Benjamin mentioned, we have 2 prizes. We have, so let's go there to the contest page. We have 2 sets of prizes, like expert nomination and community winners. So on experts, we have these bonus points plus votes of experts who are InterSystems product managers and experts selected for this particular contest. And also any member of community can vote for the project as well, and there is a community nomination where you can get these prizes. So I think this is it. If there are no questions, I will use just 1 minute to showcase you a very simple application I built in Python in Flask that uses Iris SQL. So here I import necessary libs. Then connect to Iris and run some SQL. It's like init, so I added here 2 very famous books, like from Charles Dickens and Leo Tolstoy. And then the application itself, so it uses Flask. Again, here I use another lib to communicate with Iris SQL. Iris Cloud SQL, and it implements 2 REST points, which is lists books, select star from books, and another that updates. Right. So this is all available in OpenExchange and GitHub. So yeah, this link. Open source, so you can just change a virtual environment to your. Maybe I probably how to show the. Yeah, maybe I will share this link on later. Okay, and how it works in action. Yeah, so it's deployed on Heroku, Iris Cloud, SQL, Python. Yeah, so there is a list, and you can add a new one. So if you want, you can try and use it. So it uses a very simple SQL. It works with Iris Cloud. Yeah. And do you have any questions so far? This is the GitHub for this sample project. And demo also. No questions. Yeah. Maybe we'll go through what. Okay, Yuri asked about globals. So okay, Iris means globals. Yes, there are globals inside, of course. So you can, if you are curious enough, you will reach them out. But as you know, Iris supports, of course, ObjectScript and supports now Python as a language. So you can introduce a SQL procedure with language Python and then reach globals that you want to reach. But this is
right now, maybe to comment a little bit more on that. So right now with Iris Cloud SQL, we're trying to offer a pure SQL service so that if you're a SQL user, you have nothing else to worry about. We give you a SQL access point and you just interact through the SQL language. We are also working on other dedicated cloud services. So the next one up is going to be a document documents as a service model in which you interact with through a document-specific API. So the goal of these individual focus services is to give you an efficient pay-per-use model which is forthcoming, which offers you a user experience that is very much specific to the model that you pick. And what we are doing in the backend is we're storing it in the backend in Iris, and we'll be able to offer you the same data projected to that other model. So that's sort of what I was talking about earlier in that data fabric story. So for example, with the document as a service, we will also be able to project data that is stored in document as a service to an Iris Cloud SQL account, but then for SQL. So it's actually really the deployment or the subscription that you get is specific for the access point, but the data is in the future going to be shared across these services based on the capabilities that you know and like in Iris.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. Also, a quick comment on what Benjamin said earlier about data fabric concept and maybe Fire SQL builder and this stuff. Benjamin, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't provide Fire SQL or anything Fire in related in this particular offerings with contest, right? It's just a concept.
So, no, the Fire SQL builder is not part of this contest, but maybe part of a future contest. So we have concluded the early access program for the Fire SQL builder, which was not for a cloud service, but just for the platform feature, because the platform feature is going to be fully GA when 23.1 is released later this month.
Okay, so you will be having almost 3 weeks starting from today, like 2 weeks to apply, to submit your application, and there will be 1 week of voting. And after 3 weeks, we will know the winner of InterSystems Iris SQL Cloud contest. And again, so it should be like, actually there are 2 general requirements. It should be open source and using Iris Cloud SQL. And it should change the world into a better place, of course. With that, maybe we end this kickoff and wish you good luck, which you will need.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to seeing you all.